Hi. Good morning, everybody. I'm Jennifer Hurwitz, and I'm your host of Doing Relationships Right. It used to be Doing Divorce Right, and now it's Doing Relationships Right. So I have to remember this every time I get on air. It's Tuesday, and I'm so excited because today I'm going to breathe. I have a guest with me today that is going to hopefully help me because I'm super anxious. And so Dr. Helen Odessky is here today, and I am just so grateful because I've been like wanting her to come on the show for so long and I've had to cancel. And she's been so patient with me. Thank you, Dr. Helen. I appreciate you so much. She is the best-selling author of it used to be one book. And now, since I've been just crazy here, it's now two books. It's Stop Anxiety from Stopping You and Stop Fear from Stopping You. Right, Dr. Odessky? Both?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. She's a psychologist and a public speaker, both. I'm so grateful you're here today because I
I am
think,
so glad to be
yay,
here.
I think the world is so anxious right now. And I'm so glad you're here to share with us your tips, tricks. I don't know what, but let's do this. How are you? Thanks for being here.
I am great. How are you,
Oh,
Jennifer?
I'm so glad you're here. It's so nice to see you and your face. And it's been such a day. I'm so anxious already because, as I was telling you before the show, I've had so many problems with my technology that I need to breathe. I need to breathe. I don't know if I have any anxiety meds around here, but how are you doing? Tell me what's up. What's going on?
I
Congratulations on your
am
books.
Thank you so much. I am good. I'm happy to talk to you about all things anxiety and fear
Yay.
busting.
Yay. Okay, so where do we start? Tell me first about you and how you started with your books and how this all came about. Let's start there.
Yes. So I started by training to be a psychologist, and I started working with people with anxiety, and just really found that was a keen interest of mine, and that's an area that I could be helpful. And then I developed some very severe anxiety just as I finished up my training and became a psychologist, and really had to dig through and reevaluate everything that I'd learned about anxiety. And I was working with people, and people were getting better, and it was going great. But there was some literature there that had really mixed and differing opinions. And I had trouble finding something for people to direct them to one source. And so that's how I wrote my first book, which is about panic attacks and
Oh,
social anxiety,
oh
which
wow.
often go together for people.
Okay.
And so I did that and found that to be helpful, and talked about that for a while. And my clients were getting better. And I found that with my clients that were getting better, they got better. They didn't have issues with anxiety, but they still had to deal with all these fears
Mm,
that if they wanted to really thrive, if they really wanted to make their life meaningful, that they still had to overcome. And so that's where my second book, Stop Fear from Stopping You, comes in.
awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay, so as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, okay, my son, he won't mind. I hope, Zach, you don't mind. He has panic attacks. He's a teenager, and it came up. He never had them as a child, at least that I don't know of. But it came up recently with. It seemed like it was stress related when he wasn't
Yeah.
like when he's not what's it called? When he's not like ready to go, like when he procrastinates in school.
Hmm.
He comes in my room late at night and he's like, "Mom, I'm so stressed out." And then all of a sudden it feeds into this perpetuating like, but maybe it's fear of not being ready. Could that be
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's
Well, procrastination is a known driver of anxiety. It's a type of
okay.
avoidance. So
Right.
whenever we avoid, we intensify anxiety. And
Okay.
sometimes you get into this box of, well, I've already procrastinated. Now what?
Yes, that's
Right?
him. He walks in.
I get that I can't
Yeah.
undo it now and not avoid. Now what? And I think that's where people get into trouble, because then it almost compels you to avoid
Yes.
more just to get out
Yes.
of trouble and to dial down and self-regulate. And so what I recommend here is really slowing down and saying, okay, what's the next step? Forget about all the stuff that I didn't do. What is the next logical, doable step? So is it just to show up to school without having something done? Is it
Okay.
just to allow yourself some rest, even though part of your assignment is not complete, but you need the sleep?
Right. Oh, that's okay. But then what happens when I go crazy? Because like when moms, I think that that's a natural reaction when he walks in the room and he's like, "Mom, I've got to tell you something." And I think he feels better when he says to me,
Yes.
"Mom," he unloads and he says, "Mom, I've got some, I'm really behind and I didn't do X, Y, and Z." And then I'm like, "What do you mean you didn't do X, Y, and Z?" And so then I try and
Yeah.
calm, knowing that he's stressed out already. I try to calm down and I say, "Zach, you haven't done it, so there's really nothing we can do, but what can we do to move forward?" And he said, "Well, I can't go to school with it not done. I'm going to get in so much trouble." And well, then as a mom, I want to be mad, but I know that he's going to have a panic attack. So, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
what is the
that's
next?
super tricky. Yeah. So I think as parents, it's super important to start being sounding boards for our
Okay.
kids when they start hitting that tween and teenage.
Oh God,
And
it's hard.
so I would just entertain that idea. Okay, let's see what will happen,
Okay.
and walk them through their choices. Like, okay, so let's see if what happens if you don't go to school.
Right.
So if you don't go to school, you might feel a little bit better. And then what's going to happen tomorrow? Well, tomorrow you're going to get all the emails from
Right.
school, possibly the administrator. And how are you going to feel about returning to school then? Well, I'll probably feel worse because
Right.
now I'm afraid that they're mad at me because they know I skipped out
Sure.
and obviously didn't email my assignment. So they know I didn't do the assignment. Right. So is that a better scenario? Right. What if you just went to school and said, I didn't do my assignment?
Face
Is
up.
there maybe a penalty, but maybe I could get partial credit? Or
Right.
if it's a hard line, no late papers, then maybe there's another assignment that I could do for extra credit to help
Right.
pump my grade, or maybe we can reconfigure in some
Right.
way.
Right. Oh, that makes more sense. Yeah. And I look at him and I see him, I can kind of, and I'm sure that I've talked to my friends too, and their kids they kind of spin out, and he's 16 and I see him kind of like,
Hmm.
two,
Yeah.
but it's almost like he feels better that he's told me, but then
Yeah.
I start to have the anxiety because what do I do with that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
So as parents, I think we get anxious for two reasons. One is we run our own scenario of what if
yes.
about things that we know might not work out in the way we want to for our kids.
Right. Oh gosh, don't
And
we
the
wish?
second one is if we were in the situation ourselves and we really don't want our child to be in that
Right.
situation,
Right.
then we get super anxious because we know how bad the situation
Right.
is and we
Because we've
project that
been there.
anxiety,
Because we've been there. Right? Like,
onto our kid. And like we've been that kid that's like saying,
right.
hey, can you call me out of school because I'm really not ready and I'm
Right.
super anxious.
Which of course
Right.
I would because I'm that mom. Okay, sorry. That's right.
Right. So so part of it is really stepping back and taking a breath ourselves and
Okay.
saying like, okay, you've given me a lot. Let me think on that for a moment here. Let me make you some tea.
Yes.
I'm
I
gonna mull
love
this
tea.
over.
Tea's a
Let's
good
get
thing.
back
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
in like 10-15 minutes. I just need to clear my head and think this through. It's okay to take that break. Your child knows you're human. They do feel better if they unload.
Yes, they do. Don't you
Right?
feel
They
that? Like it,
do. They do. They need, especially now during quarantine, they need that social interaction more than ever. If it
mhm.
were during the regular school year, they'd be talking to all their friends. And I know they have all the technology, but it's just not the same as the
It's
face to
not.
face.
Right. Do you feel
Right.
that
And
way in your opinion? You think it's not the same, right?
it's not 100% the same. There's
Right.
Zoom fatigue, there's technology fatigue that they all get. So as much as it's a great alternative when you don't have anything else,
Mhm.
it's still that in-person connection is so key and
Mhm.
so important. And I think we as parents get to provide that for our kids
Oh, I
in this
love
day
that.
and age.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, that's actually, you know
Yeah.
what? I love that little tip. Yeah, because we
Yeah.
do, we provide it. You're right.
We do. And never underestimate the power of being a sounding board and just listening to them process things through, because sometimes at the end of it, if you just ask your teenager, what do you think you should do, really, like
Yeah,
what
I
do you
love
think
that.
the
Yeah.
best course of action is, they can walk themselves through it better than we can.
You're so right. And I learned that. I actually did learn
Yeah,
that
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
to let them come to the conclusion, right? To let them actually talk it through
Yeah,
instead of
and then they
telling
feel
them.
empowered
Yes, I love
because they
that.
came up with this solution and they just had you as a sounding board, much like you would do with another adult
Sure.
that you were talking to.
Sure. Okay, so let me ask you. I love this. I love having you here. This is the best thing for me. Okay, so let me ask you one more question. Let's say it gets to
Yeah.
the point where they're upstairs in the room and they haven't come to tell you, and
Hmm.
they're already in the panic mode. They've
Yeah.
already gotten there. Because I know Zach will come down. Sometimes comes down. He's like, "Mom, I'm already to that point where I've tripped up. I'm at the breathing," and he has this method that he uses himself. Like he'll breathe in for 8 or breathe out for 4. I don't know. He does this thing.
Hmm.
Do you have any tips at that point? What do you think when it's just gone too?
Yeah. The
He's
most
gone up.
important thing with panic attacks is to breathe through your nose. That's
Oh,
key. And then to re engage in your life. So
okay.
it's not, I'm going to breathe through my nose and take a nap or duck out. It's,
Right.
let's just do something. Like
Okay.
if you have to wash the dishes, you can wash the dishes while having a panic attack.
Okay.
If you have to get dressed, you can get dressed while having a panic attack. A
Okay.
panic attack does not stop you from doing day-to-day things.
Okay.
So as long as you're re-engaging, okay, you have a panic attack, take a few minutes to recalibrate, but do something. Panic attack is
Oh,
a surge of energy.
oh, I
Laying
didn't. Okay.
down is going to intensify it.
That is so interesting because you know what? That is so interesting. I feel like when he does do like when he's sitting, it gets worse. Because I think he's concentrating on
For
it.
sure, because then we start ruminating and we start forecasting
Yes.
negative predictions like this other bad thing might happen, or
Yep.
what if it gets worse, right? And we start catastrophizing and
Oh, that's what
creating
I do.
scenarios that intensify the
Right.
anxiety.
That's exactly
So the win is moving with it.
moving with it to keep going and don't stop.
Hmm.
We call
Yep.
them junk thoughts. When he has,
Yep.
we call them, I have junk thoughts. I say, oh my God, I've got to stop. I got to keep walking because you have the crap that you make up in
Yep.
your head. What is that crap? Oh gosh, you're right. You're so good at this. Okay. So can I keep asking you questions? Do you mind?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what about, I always say to my kids, thinking in the past causes depression and thinking in the future causes anxiety. And they're
Yep.
like, Mom, you're so right. I feel like I'm so smart. But is that true? I made that up, I feel like.
It's absolutely true. And so I think with anxiety specifically, we want to focus on not going too far into the future.
Okay.
So what do you need to do right now in the immediate future?
Okay.
So the next step today in the next hour is, well, I got to get on the Zoom call because I got to be in class.
Right.
All right, let's see what you need to do that. You
Okay.
probably need to change out of your pajamas, and you
Right.
probably need to get your book or whatever materials you need to be ready for class. And I think you turn the button on and you join.
Wow, that's great. These poor kids. It's so hard for them. I feel like
It,
they're under so much stress.
it is, and it's tricky. And I think the best we could do is really to be that sounding board and to
Okay.
normalize some of this. Like, yeah, this is tricky.
Yeah. And how do you feel about letting them watch the news right now, in your
So
opinion?
I feel like news is super tricky. I think teenagers in particular, they're very keen. They're getting their news anyway because they're on social media. It's really hard to be on social media and not be
Yeah,
exposed to any news.
I agree.
And so I think it's a fine line. I think limiting the news is key right now because, and what I recommend to my clients is really no more than 30 minutes a day, preferably
Okay.
in the morning.
Okay.
So unless you're in the business of forecasting the news, you run some kind of a blog or something else where you need to be more updated, you really don't need to be checking the news for more than 30 minutes of
Okay.
your day and more than once a day. The
I mean, I
news is
can barely do it.
generally, yeah, if something catastrophic happens, somebody else will let you know.
I agree. I love
Like
that.
you'll get an email, you'll get a text,
Right.
right?
Especially like my kids, they're in, they actually are in hybrid. Well, not anymore. We got a stay-at-home order today, but in North Carolina, but they've been going hybrid. So they're at school, they're going to get it from their teachers as well. I feel like
Yep.
right before bed, it's like the worst time for them to look at that stuff before they get in
Absolutely.
right. I mean, how are they sleeping?
Absolutely. So before bed, I say do fun stuff, play a game as a family, or have them listen to their favorite music or
Yeah,
read
that's what my
something
kids
they
do.
like. Yeah. Or do whatever, chat with their friends. That's preferable to the news right now.
The Soberlink system is designed to make parenting time safer with real-time remote alcohol monitoring. Soberlink uniquely combines a breathalyzer with wireless connectivity and is the only system that includes facial recognition, tamper detection, and advanced reporting. Parents can submit a test anytime, anywhere, thanks to Soberlink's wireless technology, which delivers test results by text message or email to the concerned parties. Simplify co-parenting arrangements by using the system that provides transparency and proof of sobriety throughout the day. Flexible schedules combined with real-time delivery of results make Soberlink the experts in remote alcohol monitoring technology. It's my pleasure to offer my listeners $50 off your device. Just email info@soberlink.com and mention Doing Divorce Right. But hurry, it's for a limited time only. Soberlink.com. Oh my gosh. It is just so overwhelming. I feel like as an adult, I have a hard enough time. I can't imagine what these kids are having to deal with, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The thing is that we can help them digest the news. So we could say, hey, what have you heard? How are you processing this? Like what's going through your mind?
Yeah, just ask them questions, right?
Yeah, ask them questions, let them talk it through, because a lot of the times they are actually in possession of a much clearer worldview than we are as adults. Like
Yeah.
they can just key it on things and figure things out. And sometimes it creates a bonding or a connecting moment
Yeah.
with your child.
Yeah. And I feel like less is more. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Just,
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. This whole thing. So, I mean, besides any other tips or tricks or anything, you tell me, which book do you think is your first one, stop anxiety from stopping you, is
That's for panic attacks. Yep.
panic attack,
So that's
period.
in
Okay.
and it's appropriate for teens. So feel
Oh,
free to give it to your son. If you don't have a copy, I'll send
I
you a
think that's the one
copy.
you sent me. I think you did send me that one.
Okay.
Or did you send me the newer one? I don't know.
I
I don't
I
remember.
may have sent you the newer one,
Okay.
but
I'm going to buy them.
so
I'm going to
let me
buy them
know.
both. No,
Okay.
don't be sending me anything. I'm going to buy them and support you. Yes.
Okay.
And everyone else is going to buy them too. So stop anxiety from stopping you. And I saw one of them. Are they both at Target?
They're both everywhere. Target, Amazon, your
Congratulations.
local bookseller. Yep.
Fabulous. Okay. So stop anxiety from stopping you is about panic attacks mostly. And stop fear from stopping you is more.
It's about the general fears that we all have to face. So fear of rejection, fear of public speaking, fear of
Oh,
failure, fear of what other people might think about you,
I love that.
and a
Oh,
host of
wow.
others.
I am so tell me a little bit about that. Tell me something sounds fabulous because I have a fear of public
Yeah.
speaking. People don't believe that.
Yeah,
I
it's the
do.
number one fear.
Isn't that
Yes.
funny? I didn't know I
And
had it until I got, I mean, and I mean, I was a theater major. I had no problem getting on stage ever in front of more like 1,000 people didn't bother me. And then recently I started, this isn't about me, who cares? But I was practicing for my TED talk.
uh-huh.
And all of a sudden my heart would race. I would get sweaty. I was like, what is going on? I had no idea. And then I realized, oh my God, so I'm going to read your book. So tell me. Yeah. So
Yeah.
interesting.
So fear about public speaking is really a lot of it has to do with how we're perceived.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
whether people are going to judge us negatively
Yeah.
as a
That
person,
doesn't
not
surprise me.
as a speaker. Rarely do I get people saying, "Oh, I'm just afraid people won't think I'm a very good speaker." Sometimes that's a
Yeah.
thought people have, but really it's like, no, people will think I don't belong in my position.
Yes. That's
People will think
yeah.
I'm not successful. People are going to think I'm just like not a very good human being, like I'm a little
Oh
bit
my
of a
God, that's so
loser.
interesting to
And
me.
those are the thoughts that go through our mind when we focus on public speaking, which is just a task. It's just a way to deliver our knowledge, information, and to connect with people. And if we think about just the message, then a lot of the fears go away because even if it's delivered imperfectly, and I love using the newsreel bloopers as an example because if you've ever watched them, they're hilarious. And these
Totally.
people are professionally paid speakers. This is their entire job is to read the teleprompter flawlessly.
Uh-huh.
And if they mess up with regularity, then I think the rest of us have
Yeah.
to kind of chuckle at this
Yes.
pressure we put on
Yeah.
ourselves to deliver this flawless
I can never do it.
performance.
I'm much better when I'm not. People are like, "Oh, you're so much better when you're authentic." I'm like, "Good, because I can't do it. It's just
I
easier
think
for
we're
me."
all much better when we're
Yeah,
authentic, which
totally.
is why I think some of the public speaking classes work against us
I
because
agree.
it sets up this idea or the mentality that there's only one way to be a public speaker.
Right.
And
Yeah,
really, if you look at it from a standpoint of connecting with your audience, connecting with
I'm
people,
much
there's
better that
many
way.
ways to connect.
Right. Totally.
And people really like it when we connect from the place of who we are
Yeah.
versus who someone else might be.
That's the only way I can do it. I've
Yeah.
decided like I took those classes. I'm like, I can't do it this way. I have to just talk to the audience. And then I was like, oh, now it's okay. The minute that figured out that I could just be me, I
Yeah.
was much better. Yeah. It's
Absolutely,
interesting. It's very
absolutely.
interesting.
My own public speaking got way better when I did improv and actually
Yeah.
performed in an all therapist improv group.
Oh, that's
And I
awesome.
realized that at the same time I was doing these corporate talks, and I realized that after I was performing, and I was doing about 2 to 3 performances a month on stage in front of people I didn't know, and I realized that wow, this is really helping me perform in front of people I don't know at corporate events.
Right. Oh my God. I bet you're
Yeah.
a great public speaker. I can totally see that. I would love to see. It's just the whole thing is so interesting. So public speaking, and then the second book, what else?
So public speaking, fear of failing. So a
Oh,
lot of
isn't
us
that
set ourselves
everybody?
up. That absolutely is everybody. At least at some point in your life, if you're living a full life, if you're challenging yourself, if you're really going after what's meaningful to you, you're gonna feel that to some degree
Mhm.
because something that's meaningful has a cost if we
Yeah.
don't get it right.
Oh my
And
gosh. Yeah.
so we do worry about that, and I think that when it becomes a problem is when it stops us from pursuing something in the first place. 'Cause you're not failing as long as you're trying to go for something that's
Right.
meaningful to you. I
Right.
think we're always regretting things we didn't go for, and
So true.
so even if something doesn't work out the way you want it to, if we look at it as failing at a task versus we are a failure, we can always reconfigure.
Right. I tell my kids, if you don't shoot, you can't score.
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. And even professional like ball players, like basketball players, their shooting average is less than 50%. And these are people that practice shooting for hours and hours a day.
Right. Isn't that funny? Like I always think to myself, you've got to, if you don't ask the question, it's always going to be no. The
Yeah,
answer is going to be no, right? Because you
exactly.
asked. Like you got to ask. My kids are like, "Mom, that's so dumb." I'm like, no, but like you have to just try. You have to try. Like I tell people I've heard no. I can't even tell you how many times I've heard no, but I
For
ask.
sure.
You got to
For
try.
sure.
I've
Yeah.
no, I mean, I fail. Oh my gosh, people are. It's been 5 years. I'm like, I can't even tell you. We just got to do. Yeah, it's hard. And I think I'm horrified of failure, but I think I'm so used to
Yeah.
like hearing
Yeah.
no by now. It's just
And it's survivable. It's not an endpoint. It's part of the process.
right. I think you have to know that you're going to hear no, but eventually you'll hear yes, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe?
Eventually you'll hear yes, or something will reconfigure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You'll pivot, right? You'll pivot to
Exactly.
change. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
If
I
you're
learned that
hearing
too.
no a lot of times, maybe it's the approach, or maybe
Yeah.
it's the type of task, or maybe something else needs to change, and it gives us a point of reflection.
That's interesting too. Right. Because I feel like yeah. Like maybe you just don't have it you're not asking the right way, or maybe you have to change what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your approach. Huh.
Exactly.
I love you. I think this is amazing. I could have you all day. This is just the best stuff. I think that you're amazing. I think that you were worth the wait to get you here. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. I appreciate you so much. Okay. So both books, where can we find you? The easiest way to find you and all of your goodness and your
Yeah, the
valuable
easiest
information.
way to find me is you can go on Amazon and punch in "Stop Anxiety from Stopping You, Stop Fear from Stopping You." You'll pull up my books, and then you'll be able to connect with me. You can also find me on social media at Dr. Helen Odessky.
That's where I
And
found you.
those are good ways. Yep.
Awesome. Great. And on Instagram and Facebook, everywhere.
Yes.
Okay, great. And you're going to be in the show notes. So everybody who wants to find Dr. Helen, all of her information is going to be in my show notes attached to the podcast. Stop anxiety from stopping you. Stop fear from stopping you. Dr. Helen Odessky, I loved having you today. Thank you for being here. It was
Thank you. It
wonderful.
was my pleasure.
It went
I'd
so
love to
fast.
be a guest again sometime soon.
Anytime you want, come back anytime. And I just think you're just so valuable. Your information is so valuable. Can people hire you? Are you?
Yes, I'm a clinical psychologist licensed in Illinois. So if you're in the Chicago area, and
Yay.
you can absolutely contact me.
Awesome. Great. But you can't not Zoom like you're only in Chicago.
Yeah.
Oh, because I was going to say, I can hire you for my kids. Both of them are so anxious. But you know what? I feel like everyone I talk to, all of my friends are like, oh my gosh, my son is so anxious. And oh my God, I just feel like is it the pandemic? Is it just causing so much anxiety?
I think the pandemic is intensifying what's there.
Okay.
I think we're having to really adapt to circumstances that are so new and that are changing, ever changing.
Yeah.
And I think that it can absolutely intensify anxiety. For some of my clients, it's actually contain their anxiety to know the routine, that they're home. But for those of us that are on the end of where we're receiving a lot of changing directives, that can create a lot of anxiety. So I think part of it is really being patient with yourself, really cutting yourself some slack, doing a lot of self-care, sometimes extreme self-care, where you really sit down and you say, what do I need to really make it through? Am I shorting myself on the activities that make me feel like me?
Wow. That's a great
and adding
thing
those in.
Yeah. Into your daily routine, because you need them to get through it. More question. I have one more question before you go. Is anxiety, I know the answer, but maybe my guests or my listeners don't. Is anxiety hereditary, genetic? Is it, or is it not?
So there is a genetic component, but genetics are not destiny. So there's still a ton you could do. So even if you know that it runs in your family, there's still things you can do to give yourself the edge and get better and do the things you need to do and thrive.
Okay, good. I love to hear that, because my kids blame me. Boys, if you're listening, see, it's not mom's fault all the time. They're like, Mom, it's all because of you. And you gave this is your fault. I'm like, okay, boys, I got enough going on. Leave me alone. Okay. I love you, Dr. Helen. I think you're awesome. Thank you for being here today. And everybody, I just love you. And everybody else, you know where to find me, jenniferhurwitz.com, or my Instagram page, or Facebook, or wherever. And join my Facebook group, doing divorce. No, it's not doing divorce right. I do this every time. Doing relationships right. I've changed it, you guys. That's it. And that's it. You know what to do. Have a great day. Do something wonderful for yourself today, like Dr. Helen says. Add something fabulous to your routine, like meditation or yoga or something. And as always, peace, love, and truth, you guys. And that's it. See you next week. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.